Hey gardeners, it is the top of the spring here at Playful Elephant Gardens, and give you a little taste of what's going on. It's pretty. I've been working hard to get the summer gardens ready to go, although I don't really plant them until the end of May, because in May I allow the natural spring flowers to grow up. And these are not weeds, these are flowers. This is Eastern Daisy Fleabane. It's goldenwort. Probably see it along the road a lot. Clear it out at the end of May. It's sort of done blooming by the end of May, so I'll clear it all out by then and put other flowers in. Trying to keep the sunflowers away from the front this year and keep them in the back because they get a little bit too big and unwieldy. Looking up the sidewalk, it looks actually beautiful. And the reason I like these two kind of flowers is because when Kathy first met me, she came to celebrate my birthday with me at my home, and she pulled a few of these out of her yard and brought me a bouquet of flowers because she knew I liked flowers, and she didn't know much about flowers, so she just pulled whatever she could, and they were beautiful. And I have a picture of it to this day of me holding that bouquet that she brought me. And every year I have a living bouquet to remind me of how our relationship began. This is the other side, from the other side looking down. As you can see, I've got the flower boxes all in already. That's a wave petunia actually. It's night sky petunia, but it's in a wave. I've seen them in regular petunias, but that's a wave type petunia which blooms profusely if you know about wave petunias. I've got portulaca in there. I've got vinca. Nothing much is blooming on these flower boxes yet because they need time to set their roots in. But I've got some dianthus in there too. I don't know how well the dianthus will do as the summer gets later. They tend to peter out. These moss roses come in all kinds, so many different kind of colors. It's unbelievable. That's why I like them. It's almost like a succulent kind of leaf, but they come in so many different kind of colors, the flowers. You never know what you're going to get, and every morning it's different. Here's another one. You got your yellows and your pinks, different varieties, different shades of pink. And then I've got some of my favorite here. This isn't doing so well right now, but it will come back. This is Browalia. I've got another one up at the top of the garden. Let me show you that one. So again, these are just getting used to being out in the sun, full sun. And so it takes a while for their roots to set in, and then they'll start diverting their energy to flowering. That's a pretty little blue flower. I planted these side gardens this year with geranium, ageratum, white and blue, lobelia. So it's a red, white, and blue kind of theme that follows throughout. It's very consistent. I'm loving the architecture of this wisteria. Climbing up the arbor here. Looks very nice this year. I'll probably have to trim it some back before the summer's over. And then this one's not doing as well, but it will come along. Probably this summer it'll make great strides and start climbing as well. And I put the cat palms out here in the front this year. Makes it look a little bit tropical. I've also put the bougainvillea out here. Pink is really nice. These are allium. It's their season. The allium marks the last part of the season for the spring for me. So the first thing to come up is the daffodils, and then you get the goldenwort and fleabane blooming, and then you get the allium, and that's the last sign of the spring. Well, you're in between there. You have the viburnum, Korean spice viburnum, and Chinese quince on the side yard. and then the allium comes up and dies away, and that's the spring flower. Now I guess there's a final part of the season though, because I've got this iris which has started to bloom. It bloomed last year, now it's blooming this year. It's beautiful. It's a Siberian iris. A friend gave me one corm, and it has been spreading ever since. It'll probably take over this whole round garden here, although this is the hibiscus. Didn't do so well last year, I don't know why. So we'll see if it does better this year. I'm using a lot of container gardening this year to replace regular standard bedding. And in this container we have the Mexican heather, or Kaffia is the proper name for it. I have to make sure I keep this watered though, because this needs a lot of water, while these things, purslane, does not. It's a succulent, as you can see, and it's not blooming yet, but they get beautiful flowers. It's related to the portulaca, a close cousin, but it is not portulaca, and portulaca is not purslane. So this is closely related to the elephant bush, which is a favorite plant of mine. Got a bunch of these snapdragons from the discount card at Lowe's at half price. I don't know what I'm going to do with them all, but I'll find a place for them. This is a blooming clematis that my brother got me last year, which is flowered out well in its first year here. Doing quite well. It's growing quite voraciously everywhere. So again, focusing on keeping the flowers low and controllable this year, I've got the promenade gardens here, planted in marigold and petunia. Got some geranium right there at the end, and I've got some vinca around the pool over there. So that should be a little bit more manageable than what I'm used to handling. And over here in the tree garden, which is usually a very out of control as well. Now these daffodils will die back. The allium leaves will die back eventually and they'll be out of there, but I've got it all planted in portulaca this year. It's not blooming, but when it starts blooming, it blooms profusely. And like I said, many different colors. And then this is our apple tree, our beloved apple tree, ornamental apple, was blown down by a tornado. Not a tornado, but near tornado, I would say. It was actually broken off at the base and thrown against what was the fence. Now it's a new fence, but it's a fence right there. It literally picked it up and threw it against. That's how strong the winds were. And then all these runners grew up, and they make a nice looking bush. If you can keep it trimmed and shaped and everything like I'm doing, it makes a very nice looking bush. I like the leaves. The leaves are much healthier than the apple tree ever was. I don't know if it will ever actually bloom like the apple tree did, but the bush is good enough for me, and it memorializes our beloved apple tree, which we loved every year, seeing it in bloom. This is the mock orange, just starting to bloom. It will be all full of these white flowers before it's all done. It's just starting to bloom them now. So it's just every day there's more and more flowers on it, and I really like the flowers. Look like the blossom on an orange tree. They have this particular variety. I know there's varieties of mock orange that have the aroma. These do not. These are without any scent at all. But the architecture and the flowers are beautiful, I think. Got a little yellow columbine growing over here. Columbine, now this is the thing, columbine is a biennial, which means it's not an annual, it's not a perennial, it's a biennial. It means it's the first year it grows just the green leaves. That's how they look, sort of a little bit like cilantro leaf, only larger. And then in the second year it gets the blooms, and then it's done. But it seeds so well that I've really not, for the last several years, I've not been allowed a columbine blooming somewhere, because it seeds very well. These cups become the seed pods. It's a very beautiful flower. Okay, this is where I've not. This is where it ends. Where I've you can see the yard, the front yard is well cultivated. There's a reason for that, but I'm not allowed to say what it is. But we had a special event here, very special event, a couple of days ago. But this is where it ends. So I've got to still weed out that garden, and I like to let things grow wild until the end of May. There's a lot of good reasons for doing that as a gardener. I'm being accosted by a bee right now. So this hill will be all in nasturtium this year. Right now it's just growing wild, and there'll be some morning glories as usual against the side porch. I've got my seed tray started here. You can see some things are coming up. A lot of different seeds. I have a lot more to do, but I'm a little bit behind schedule. So I'm pulling out all the sunflowers which are growing in the front yard, and there's a lot of them because the squirrels plant the sunflowers in the fall, and then they forget that where they planted them, and then they all come up. So I transplant them into these trays for now, and they're not looking so well right now, but that's usual when you transplant. You just let them go and keep them in the shade, not in the full sun, because that will definitely kill them, but you keep them in the shade and for about 2 weeks, and they'll recover with their roots. And then we're going to plant everything against that garden barn there, all the sunflowers. It's going to be one big row of sunflowers. That's my plan, at least. You know, gardeners propose, but God disposes, so we'll see what happens. Here you see some trees in pots. This is catalpa trees, which are particularly favorites of mine. Got 2 of them growing in pots here. And then that's a mulberry growing up in a pot. And then right down here we have my favorite, the Eastern European cranberry, and this is how it looks in the spring with these beautiful little white bracts that become green berries, and that becomes blush. They turn blush, and then they turn deep red berries, and the leaves turn deep crimson in the fall. So this year I'm doing things different. I'm trying to get away from using all the little pots because it's a lot of work, a lot of hassle to have a whole bunch of little pots. I'm going to have flowers along this fence, but I'm going to use these big tubs, which I bought at Menards at a steal. And so these were planted already for another occasion for St. Mark's grand opening, but and I'm waiting for them to catch on, because when you first plant flowers, what happens is the energy goes into developing their roots, growing their root system so they can get more nutrients. And then when they have grown a big enough root system, they put all their energy into growth above the ground, the leaves and stems and so forth. And then it comes into flowering, and all the energy is going into flowers and seed making. So they don't look great right now. I'll tell you that right now. But eventually I'm going to move all these, because they don't get enough sun here anyway, but I'm just storing them here because I'm using the fence line right now as for seed trays. So probably in June, these will go up against the fence, and all along the fence there'll be buckets of these kind of flowers, arrangements, and so forth. There's a beautiful little color. I like the color of that geranium. Here's a favorite geranium of mine, peppermint geranium. Not peppermint, well, it doesn't smell like peppermint, but the red and white color. That's why it's called peppermint. And then this is just about done, but this is one of my favorites. I just bought it this year. I've always loved these Jacob's Ladder. They get these clusters of beautiful blue flowers there with the yellow stamens, and the leaves are fern-like, as you can see. It's just a beautiful plant. It's a perennial, so it comes back every year, and I will just keep it in this pot, and every year it will grow back. Sort of like my peony, or as I call them, piney. And talking about the piney, here it is. And you can see it's got all these buds on it. It's going to have beautiful pink blooms all over it in a matter of maybe a week or two, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. They take a little bit longer. The buds grow bigger. They'll get bigger, a little bigger than that, and then they'll it's a pink peony. So But that's in a pot too. I keep that in the tub, and every year it just comes back. I leave it outside actually for the winter, and it does very well. I feed it in the spring, and it always blooms beautifully for me. I trimmed up this African wisteria tree. That's absolutely necessary because it grows everywhere. If you don't, you have to trim it in the spring before it leaves out. And it didn't bloom this year, but maybe next year. Maybe it takes a while for it to set its roots in, and but I really didn't see any blooms on it this year. But it is a beautiful tree. I love the architecture of it. It's a nice centerpiece as you're coming down the driveway here and entering the back garden. I just discovered this beautiful little beauty today, and this is what I mean by the gardens. They always give you a surprise. You always, as you're walking through the gardens, you always get delighted by a surprise. Now these are called 5-spot. I didn't plant this here. A rogue seed must have landed here from other gardening seasons and grew up. But this is 5-spot, and it's a woodland flower. It supposedly it's supposed to spread a little bit out. I've never seen it spread beyond a single plant like this. But this is doing very well because it's in the shade. And they grow in the shade because they're in the forest. So they're under the canopy of the forest, and it's shady there. And so they do well there. And this is just a surprise for me to see one growing here in the middle of nowhere. I'm glad I didn't mow it down. And you can see that I have things back here in the backyard, which I've not even touched the backyard yet, except for I'm cleaning off the patio, back patio, because we're about to put a new roof, translucent roof, fiberglass, corrugated fiberglass. Oh, look at that. I just discovered something else. This is really something. Look at this. I just now looked and saw this. This is another one of those purple 5-spots. That's a healthy specimen of a plant. It's just beautiful. And wow, I love that. I really love that. And it's called 5-spot because you can see the 5 spots, purple spots on its petals. But that's very nice. I just saw that. So those must really spread easily, I'm thinking. And then you have all the goldenwort and the fleabane. Now this looks like a big patch of weeds, but it's not. That's why I try to tell people. All they see is, their minds want to see certain things in the garden, and so they discount a lot. And so here we have a lot of beautiful flowers. This looks like, this is Rudbeckia growing up. You can tell by the fuzzy leaf. Then right between the Rudbeckia is this. This is not a weed. This is called wild bergamot. Or some people call it monarda, or some people call it bee balm. And it's growing. I've got a large patch of it growing all around in here. And that will look beautiful when it flowers as well. Some of this stuff, this is like a curly dock, which needs to be taken out. And some of the Canadian thistle definitely I'd take out. I'm trying to keep that under control this year. Here's a mullein. Now there's 2 types of mullein. One is a fuzzy leaf like a lamb's ear, but this one has a tall spire with cream-colored flowers, and I'll show that to you later in the season as it blooms. But that's a nice, healthy specimen of a mullein. And we've got, as we move down through this garden, through all the beautiful, beautiful flowers. I don't care if you call them weeds or not, but they're beautiful to me. And look what's growing up here. I didn't plant this. This just came up by itself. This is a cornflower getting ready to bloom. It could be either pink or blue. It's very similar to a bachelor button, except the cornflower is perennial and the bachelor button is annual. So that's a very pretty specimen of a cornflower. And then further down here in the garden, I've got stepping stones here, so I'm not trying not to step on the flowers and knock them down too much. But we've got down in here, once I take out all these weeds, right there, we've got, I don't know what that, yeah, that's foxglove. There's another one, there's another foxglove right there. Those bloom beautifully too. So I'm eager to see those bloom. Here, this one's done blooming. This is a yellow garden rocket. It was all colored beautiful in these tiny yellow, bright yellow leaves, not like the goldenwort, which is a darker yellow, but it's got these bright colored yellow flowers, and all these here are the seed pods, and I'll let them spread because I do like the yellow garden rocket, which blooms only in the spring. Here's another one that's done blooming. I got some pictures of when they were in full bloom. So then on this side of the garden, we have these are Chinese forget-me-nots. There's different varieties of forget-me-nots. These ones are particularly I like because the other variety that I typically grow get the seed pods that stick to your pants and everything. These do not, but it's a tiny little blue flower. Let me see if I can get a close-up of it for you here. With the yellow center, just beautiful. And they're all over here. They're all through there. So I'll be taking out all this stuff along here. You see a lot of the evening primrose, which just is very, very pervasive. The evening primrose is. And I might leave a few of the plants in, but typically I try to take most of it out because it will just take over everything. As well as the Canadian thistle, I try to get that out of there. The roses are not yet blooming. I have to feed them yet. Good Lord, I forgot to feed them in the fall. And they do have buds on them though. You can see the buds. See if I can get it on there. Right there's the buds. Right there. So they're getting ready to bloom. I rescued these rose bushes from a restaurant that they were out in front of rose. These are antique rose bushes. They're over 50 years old. And I rescued them all before they bulldozed a restaurant in town. I went and asked if I could rescue them, and they said yes. And look at all the buds on this one. Look at all those buds. And so I have all these rose bushes, and they do wonderful every year. And I planted this as a shrine garden to the Blessed Mother, Virgin Mary, Mother of God. And it really is good, but it needs weeded, of course. Everything needs weeded. I've got some these always do wonderful. These are Oriental lilies coming up here. And they do wonderful. So there's the patio that we're going to be repairing. Well, I'm replacing almost everything on it except the posts. Putting new electricity on it. And it will have translucent or blue, they're blue corrugated fiberglass panels over the top of these. Of course, we'll have cross beams too, so that it handles the snow load and everything. But it will make this very amenable to being growing like a little garden patio. And I'm gonna, the wall, cement block, cinder block wall there, which only comes out that far as a retaining wall. I'm gonna actually extend it all the way around this corner and then around that corner as well. So it's a mess because I'm in the middle of cleaning it right now. Cleaning everything. I'm starting to get some of the plants moved out from the winter garden, and they're starting to look a little better. This is Dusty Miller, which is looking a lot better. Bloomed over the winter for me, and I got a lot of seed from it. So, and got some red butterfly flower, which is looking better since I moved it out into the sun, which is nice. But when that blooms in a winter garden, it's relative, it's a close cousin to milkweed, and so it gets the milkweed pods. And if those things break open, the seeds just go everywhere. And here you see my back 40, which I keep growing until the end of May before I mow it down. Not only for the pollinators, but it allows the seed to the grass to seed a little bit, and the seed spreads and fills in the bare spots all around the lawns and so forth. I've got to clean up that compost pile. I'll rake that down even with the fence and let it turn into dirt again for me. There's a lot of work back here though. Here's the trees I planted last year in the backyard. This is a sycamore, a seed from the grand sycamore in the center of our town, which is over 200 years old, and it's probably 200 feet high. It's a mammoth, it's a grand monument of a sycamore tree down there. So I wanted to reproduce it, and here it is in my backyard. And then that's a silver maple. I think I'm getting on. That's a silver maple down there. They both came back, so they both survived the first winter in the ground because they were in pots before. And the spiderwood is just big
2 p.m.
It's 2 o'clock. I better get busy. That's spiderwort, one of my favorites, and it's just beginning to bloom. This area will be covered with it. I gotta take down that tree right there too. That's a tree that grew up where I didn't want it to grow. I'll take that out this summer. But here's another variety of that's a double. That's called a double flower. That's columbine, just like the yellow one we saw before. But that's red, or almost like scarlet, and it's with yellow center. And it's a double flower. So it looks a little bit different, but it is columbine. You can see the leaf looks the same. Coffee tree is growing a lot of berries. Over the winter it grew a lot of berries. These things grow very readily. The seed inside the berry is the coffee bean that we make coffee from. This is an Arabica coffee tree. And so that's where the coffee comes from. They take the seed out of the center of this berry and roast it and grind it up, and that's coffee. Sometimes they mix it with a little bit of chicory root to take out the bitterness. And I have chicory that will be blooming soon in the garden. I'll show that to you when I come back, when it blooms, when it gets up to blooming stage. Okay, well, I've just about given you the whole tour of the gardens. Hopefully you saw something that was interesting to you. But this is my joy, as you know, so I never get tired of it. It's hard to make a short video and highlight everything that I want to show people. So this went a little bit long, but anyway, I'll put the lawn furniture up here. I'm gonna sit in my rocking chair here and just enjoy the view as the garden tells its story this season. Happy gardening, everybody.